Hello friends, it's Unicorn Princess here, and I don't really know where to start. I got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, but I honestly don't know what I should talk about and what I shouldn't talk about. Well, actually, let's start with this. This is an electric blanket. I bought it from Lidl for like £15, and this is my life. This has been my lifesaver. It's like a warm hug. Let me just start by saying that as a person, I think that being transparent and honest is important. And sometimes people think I've been a little bit too honest or a little bit too blunt because I say exactly what I think and how I think it, and I'm not gonna lie. That's the main important thing, I guess, is I will not lie to you about how I feel about things. If there's something that I want to talk about that I think that people will be mad about, I probably just won't talk about it. But I will never lie to you about it. So, that being said, the virus in this country is just ridiculous. It's so out of control, and whatever your opinions are on like the pandemic and the virus itself, most people can agree that our government has significantly fucked up, like from the very beginning. This has not been handled well. People here have been in lockdown almost without respite since March, like since the end of March. That is a long time, and as of Christmas time, I guess, we're in lockdown much like it was in March. There are travel bans. You're not allowed to leave the house except for essential reasons, which include shopping, brief exercise, and is that it? That might be it. Oh, and going to work if you're an essential worker. There is, in my city, a visible police presence that was not there before. All of the small businesses are closing permanently, and that's not hyperbole. Some of my favourite places around the centre of town, you know, the busiest area of town, are closed forever because they cannot sustain whatever it is that's happening during the lockdown. And I tried really hard not to talk about the virus. Everyone was talking about it. It was very depressing, and I wanted to be a source of like positivity and happiness and everything, but I can't lie about how I feel. And if anything, I can just say that, like many people I'm sure, my mental health has been significantly affected by the circumstances that our country finds itself in. I don't normally do this, but it's a video, so I will. I'm gonna just preemptively put a kind of a warning out there because I am gonna touch on some relationship abuse type issues. If you're not into that kind of thing, if it's gonna bother you, then switch off now because I'm gonna be talking about it. Many of you know that in the past I had some very abusive relationships, and I have been going to therapy for many years to deal with the effects of those abusive relationships. I don't really like using the word because it's been so overly used that it's kind of lost meaning now, but I have a lot of triggers, genuine medical triggers that happen because of the relationships that I was in before, and they started happening a couple of months ago, and I was really confused because there's nothing in my life now that should set any of those things off. So I called a few people and I was really confused about it, and that's when I realized that many of the features of lockdown mimic abusive relationships. The control aspect of it, a huge part of being in manipulative relationships is for a lot of people that you don't have any control over your own life. You have lost control for whatever reason, and the person, the manipulator, dictates your movements, your freedoms. You are constantly stressed and paranoid about them seeing you or being unhappy with you or finding out that you did something that you didn't realize was wrong but that they would later tell you was wrong. You're constantly like gut in knots, anxious, about doing something wrong or being seen to be doing something wrong or upsetting to the manipulative partner, and the uncertainty, the constant uncertainty, because most of these people, there are no set rules, which is why it's so stressful, because you're constantly trying to figure out what it is that's going to make them happy or make them unhappy, and because of its constantly changing nature, you are just walking on eggshells constantly, trying to think, is this okay? Is it going to upset them? Is this going to be a big deal? Should I do it? Or maybe I just shouldn't. To name a few, those are a couple of the things that this lockdown situation mimics so perfectly, that I've actually started to trigger just living in these conditions. And again, I'm going to reissue this warning if you didn't listen the first time. This might get a little bit too much. Because of the nature of the kind of abuse that I lived with, I used to get this thing all the time where I would dissociate. People would sit too close and I could feel like the heat of their skin near my skin, and it would make me feel disgusting. Like, it would make my skin crawl, and I would just want to like scrub my skin off with the Brillo pad, and I couldn't handle anybody touching me. I mean, sitting next to me. Never mind touching me, like sitting too close to me, I couldn't handle it. And once that started happening, I would become like, if you guys watch anime and you've seen any of the Gundam style stuff or Voltron, you are a passenger in this giant robot and you take up maybe a tiny portion of its head. That's kind of what dissociating is like. I would shrink and shrink and shrink and become this tiny little pea somewhere in the back of my mind, where I was only vaguely aware myself of what was going on, but I have lost real connection and control with the rest of me. To the point where I could see like the outline of my eyes, like I was looking through windows. Does that make sense? Anyway, this is getting a little bit long-winded. My point is that has started happening, and not only is that just incredibly distressing, in general, anybody who lives with things like this knows that it's really distressing, but it's particularly distressing for me because I have spent such a long time getting better, because I've spent such a long time fighting that stuff, and it takes a lot of practice and a lot of control and a lot of effort to get that stuff manageable, you know, to get it into a place where you can function like a regular human. And it's taken me, like, I would say the best part of 10 years, if not more, to be in a place where those things don't affect me on a day-to-day or minute-to-minute basis. So to have the conditions that we're living in that are not under my control at all, it's not through any fault of anybody around me or anything like that, to have them put me back in a position that I was a decade ago is very distressing, especially because there is no end in sight. For many of us, we thought that the announcement of the vaccines would be the end, kind of. They announced even before they started putting out the vaccines that this probably won't be enough and that they don't know what the future is, and they just keep extending things by months and months and months. I mean, they had said by January 15th that they would open schools and review everything and blah blah blah, and before we even came near that date, they already announced that pubs would not reopen until May. Now, I've seen this all year, so I know the game. They say pubs, but they don't just mean pubs. Pubs means general. Things will not open until May. Honestly, it was Christmas. I'm sure a lot of people are the same. But when they said that we could mingle for Christmas. It didn't make all that much sense in terms of virus safety or whatever, but politically it made sense. I understood that people were getting frustrated and they probably thought, hey, we'll give them a little bit of time over Christmas and then all the angry people will simmer down. And then we can nail them with restrictions and they won't fight it because they'll be placated after Christmas. That was the logic that I saw in that. But then they took it away just before. I'm talking days before Christmas. People like myself had taken time off work, lost a load of money because of it, and I mean, trust me, we're in dire need of money at the minute, and then said, actually no, traveling is banned. You cannot go to a different city or a different tier to see your family. Those that are able to see family, we want it to be like one-on-one and outside if possible. So Conan and I, we couldn't see our families or our parents. We haven't seen them in a year, like a whole year and counting. So when that happened at Christmas, I think a lot of people's hopes that this would end by the end of the year just disintegrated. And since then, things have gotten difficult. For all of the people that just keep repeating that we should just do what we're told, we are. Even for those of us that don't agree that things are being done right, or that are skeptical about the state of the virus or the government or whatever, even those people are doing what they're told. And the very, very few people that don't want to do what they're told are in such small number that it's irrelevant, because the rest of us are inside, the rest of us are wearing masks, the rest of us are locked down inside our houses. So the handful of people that might be kicking about are out there on empty streets. The only people that they are affecting are other people like them, which, I mean, say of that what you will. I'm not going to judge them. My point is that everybody is doing what they're told. There's nothing else that anybody can do. Literally everything is closed. The shops are closed, the workplaces, the majority of workplaces are closed. People couldn't really break all that much of it even if they wanted to. So just dismissing it and saying, oh, you just have to do what you're told, it's to save lives. Just think about that for a second. If this was really all about saving lives, people would care. People would care about the significant rise in suicides over this. And don't tell me that the suicides are purely people that are upset in general, because I am one of those people and my friends are those people. This situation is pushing us in that direction. So let's just not pretend, shall we? If it was truly just about saving lives, people would care significantly about all of the cancer operations that are pushed and cancelled to deal with the COVID deaths, and all of the people that keep saying it's to save the NHS. Do you realise it's our government that has been defunding the NHS for years? They're putting it on us. They're saying we have to stay at home and be good to save the NHS, because if we don't, we're responsible for its collapse. But the truth and the reality is that they are responsible for the decline of the NHS. Our government has been defunding the NHS in every possible way for years. It's their fault that there's not enough staff. It's their fault that there's not enough equipment to deal with the situation. It's their fault how underprepared we are, and they're pinning it on the people. This is not on the people. We are sick of having our corrupt, bullshit, low-life government pin all of this on the people, when the people the people who have lost their jobs and lost their businesses, been arrested and fined over incredible, ridiculous shit like trying to keep their livelihoods afloat, those people are the people that are losing. Our politicians are not losing their jobs, they're not losing income, they're not even losing the ability to socialize or be mobile. Our politicians are able to clearly break the law, rules for thee but not for me. They're clearly able to travel for work and do what they like, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. So yeah, just take that attitude about the people and shove it, because this is not on us. This became a long video and I didn't actually talk about any of the things that I wanted to talk about that were positive. I apologize. It's just, it was hard to begin with and it has just gotten increasingly harder, increasingly worse. But I don't want to leave this on a negative note. I want to encourage people not to be weighed down by the situation and not to be defeated, because things end, this will end, and whatever your stance on it all, I hope that this situation has been eye-opening about the state of our government, if anything, the state of shifting of blame from those in power to the rest of us, which is, I mean, it's something they've been doing since the beginning of time. I just hope that people can see it for what it is now, so that we can do something about it. And if this doesn't get in order in some way soon, I hope that people will... I actually don't think I can say that because that might sound like a call to arms. But anyway, Facebook call people. It's one of the only things that's keeping my brain together. Facebook calling people and playing games online. So if you can, get into that. Facebook call people and get online. And try and keep yourself in a routine. I made a video about this before, things that you can do to combat COVID here somewhere. Genuinely, if you let yourself stay in bed and not get up, it will just get worse. Make yourself get up, make yourself get dressed, make yourself do some of this. And I guess in the next video, which might also be released this week sometime, I'll show you all the things I wanted to show you. So this was a rant. State of the world rant. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if enjoy is the right word. I'm sorry that I wasn't as cheery and happy as I normally am. I just wanted to be honest. Anyway guys, I hope you're all doing okay. Let me know how you are. I want to hear from you. I know who all my regulars are. Let me know how you're doing. I hope I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Love.